Good morning, madam.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Few minutes, ma'am. ನಾನು introduce ಮಾಡಿ. Okay. Sir, present, sir. Let us start, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Good morning to one and all present here. On behalf of Organizing Secretary, Department of Statistics, Bharathiar University, Coimbatore, and joined the associate with PG and Research Department of Mathematics, Jamal College of Tiruchirappalli. This college is the UGC of and DPT Star College grade. Today the start-time training program, virtual start-time training program on data science and statistical applications held during March 15 to March 22, 2021. Today, day 5th. Great pleasure to introduce the today special speaker, Dr. S. Sugandhi, Professor and Head, Department of Data Science, Coimbatore Institute of Technology. Ma'am is the qualified of academic degrees, BSc Mathematics, PhD College of Arts and Science, MSc Applied Mathematics, PhD College of Technology from Bharathiar University, MPhil in Computer Science, PhD College of Technology, PhD in Science and Humanity, PhD College of Technology from Anna University, Chennai. Academic of qualification, ma'am is served as more than 25 years in the situation of lecture level 2 professor and the department of HOD. Ma'am is the specialization of software architectures, area of interest to software architecture, machine learning. Ma'am is the course handling of software architecture, software engineering, agile process model, machine learning, artificial intelligence, database management system, data structure and algorithm. Coimbatore Institute of Technology is one of the most of leading of technical institution in national level and state level. Specifically, Coimbatore is very famous of institution. Ma'am is served as several board of studies, academic activities, administrative activities, the contributor of several applications. Now I request today special speaker Dr. S. Sugandhi, Professor and Head, Department of Data Science. Once again, welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Gandhiya Vendhan.
Thank you, madam.
First of all, I would like to thank the organizing committee for giving this opportunity. So before giving the thanks for the organizing committee, I would say the greetings for all the participants. And one more thing, I would like to ensure that the participants will have the thought that their expectations has been met at the end of this session. Thank you once again for the organizing committee for giving this opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am.
So today we are going to have the discussion on computational data science and overview. If the slide is visible for you,
I'm not streaming, ma'am.
not visible. Wait a minute.
Madam, screen is not visible, madam.
Still that slideshow is not visible, isn't so?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
madam.
PPT is not streaming, ma'am.
Not visible. Yeah,
Yes,
there is
ma'am.
an issue with that. So I will try
Oh,
to resolve it. Okay.
okay, madam.
Just a few minutes for it.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. It is visible, madam. Kindly
Now
click
it's
enable
showing, ma'am.
editing option
Uh,
and
Okay, thank
full
you.
screen,
Thank you.
madam.
I think it is
Full screen.
visible. I'll make it as a full screen.
Okay,
okay,
madam.
madam.
Thank you.
I think now is it visible for all of you?
Yes, ma'am. Visible, ma'am.
Full screen is visible, isn't so?
No, ma'am.
Full screen is visible.
Not visible, ma'am.
Not visible, madam. Madam, kindly click enable editing on the tab,
I
madam.
did it. I did it. Now the full screen is visible for you?
No, ma'am. Still, PPT not showing, ma'am. Previously showing, ma'am. Right now is not visible, ma'am.
Now okay, madam.
Now is it visible, isn't so?
Yes, madam.
Visible, ma'am. Visible, ma'am.
So today we are going to discuss on computational data science, an overview.
Okay.
Initially, I hope that everyone needed to know about what is a data science, the basics of data science. So in this discussion, we are going to cover the basics of data science and the various activities involved in the data science project, and also the role of software engineering in data science process. So all these topics being discussed in this session. So let us say about what is a data science. So as you know, the science is the knowledge which has been incurred through the study of natural and social world. This is a definition stated in the various dictionaries. Let us apply the same definition on defining the data science also. Here also the science implies the knowledge on data being incurred through the study of concepts, methods, techniques, and tools existing in the various fields such as mathematics, statistics, and computer science. So, wherever the science has come into picture, it implies that it is necessary to infer the knowledge from the study of the concepts, techniques, methods involved in this world. So that concept has been applied here, and we have stated that here the knowledge of data is specified as defining, representing, managing, and analyzing and presenting data in various domains. Here, the some of the domains such as business, finance, agriculture, medicine, and manufacturing fields where we could see a lot of data involved in it. So from those data, we could able to determine the knowledge by applying the concepts, methods, techniques, and tools of mathematics, statistics, and computer science field. So this is what ultimately specified as the data science. So in this case, I would like to quote an example here. If you take a case study where the managers in the retail stores are interested in promoting the product, so he may give this request to a data scientist in order to develop a analytical solution so that he could make use of that solution for further process or for decision making process. So this is what being expected. So in this context, we could say the person who is going to take up the task of developing a decision solution could determine the data that are required for promoting the product. So for which he should have the domain knowledge. So for which he may interact with the people in order to determine the domain knowledge. After he has determined the domain knowledge, he used to generate a mathematical model. So that is the basic. By making use of the vectors and matrix to represent and process the data, he could come out with the model which will describe the prediction process of the required for promoting the product. So while we are promoting the product, we should predict the sales of the product in the view of the customers and the location of the customers. So that can be achieved by establishing a mathematical model. Similarly, he could able to do the prediction process by applying the various statistical techniques such as uh, deterministic analytics techniques and predictive analytics techniques. So initially he might be interested in knowing about what actually the data are representing, and based on that he can come out with the prediction of the sales of that product. So for which he could come out with the various deterministic and predictive statistical techniques could be applied. And finally, our requirement is not to provide the solution as in a manual way. We would like to automate that entire process. So we don't want to incur more manpower in performing this process. So in that aspect, we would like to apply a computer science features in order to automate the analytics process. So likewise, so there we could apply the various software techniques that might be appropriate for performing the prediction. So likewise, we could able to apply the various mathematical, statistical and computer science technology in order to conduct the analysis of the sales of the product in order to take a decision regarding the promotion of that product. So this this is the way how actually the role of data science is depicted in the current business context. Similarly, a lot of case studies we could discuss here, like in finance or banking application, the bank manager is in the need of knowing for which customers he could approve the loan. So there are many customers in the bank who could approach the manager for getting the loan, for which he has to take a decision for whom the loan could be approved, for which he needs some analytics to be conducted. So for this also, after properly understanding the context, the data scientists should come out with the mathematical model, statistical model and the software model which could able to help to automate the process of the process involved in determining the customers for whom the loan to be sanctioned. So the entire process of analyzing the customers loan related factors should be done by making use of these three fields. So everyone should know that without these three fields, we cannot think about the data science. Another simple example I could say, wherever when we are talking about the automation, automatically it implies that the solution to be provided as a software solution. So in that case, we should ensure that the software solution can be generated by automating the entire procedure which are presented as a standard task. In the sense, like if we are going to sanction the loan based on the rules stated by the Reserve Bank without any applying any customization by the bank manager, then it becomes a standard procedure. So that it is not necessary to think about an intelligent solution. It is sufficient to automate the just a minute. Is my voice audible? Yes, are you able to hear my voice?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So now I think you are able to see the slide also.
Yes,
So we
ma'am.
have entered into the next slide, okay, the need for data science.
Yeah, ma'am. It is visible.
Yes. While we are defining a data science, it has been
Yes,
very
ma'am.
clear. Yeah, thank you. It has
Thank you.
been very clear that the need of all the concepts, methods, techniques, and tools involved in mathematical, statistical, and computer science are required in order to represent, define, manipulate, and present the data. So here also we've represented the data in various domain also. So all those data which are existing in business, financial, medicine, and manufacturing domain should be represented by making use of those techniques so that it enable us to have a better understanding of the data. The next thing we should know about the need for data science. The people will think that the data science is a new field. So currently everybody is talking about data science. So we may feel that it is a new field. Definitely, it is not so. It is an emerging field. So, when actually the mathematics came into picture, during that time onwards, the existence of data science is there. Since we know very well, in initial days, everything in this world will be represented as a data. Even being a human, we are being considered as an object, but internally our characteristics will be represented as a data. So the people will analyze by viewing our characteristics. Since the characteristics are represented as a data in the sense like, so entire our physical structure could be represented in the form of data, which will enable the people to estimate the person based on their perspective. So that's what I used to say. The data science is not a new field. So why the people are talking now about the data science? Because now the people are looking into the decision making process where they need to handle a large volume of data. So that is the case. Now the demand for data science has been increased. So is the demand for decision making has been increased all of the sudden? No. When actually the people look into the process of automating the decision making process, only when they feel that all standard tasks have been automated. The two, when we are talking about payroll, banking transactions, financial management, inventory management, and all information management. So all these software products, if you seek that, we can see almost we have automated all the standard tasks by making use of all high-end technologies. What it implies, initially it was done by making use of the conventional techniques, by storing the data in the file and manipulating the file through the structural programming. Later, what happened? The people introduced the object-oriented programming concept so that everybody, all the entire entities in and process involved in the system will be represented as an object, and that in turn will take care of accessing the backend data. The third thing, the backend data, they started to represent it in a persistent way. So in that context, they started making use of the term called database. So they used database to represent the data. So from the file they transferred into database and then they have used. So we are having the appropriate software technologies which supports to present and store the data into that database. Not only storing the data but also accessing the data from the database is also being supported by having the appropriate software. And the latter stages, the people started to provide a better user experience for which they started avoiding to have a desktop application where we used to have the entire product in a single machine, and the people are asked to access only that machine in order to avail their services. So that finds very difficult. So then they started this distributed environment to be used for deploying the product. So this is the next evolution that has been happened in the software field. So that makes even more convenient for the users to access their services provided by the software. Since in the distributed environment, we are going to separate the client part from the core part. The client part is one where we are providing the complete interfaces for the users to access the product. Whereas in backend, we used to define all the logic and the data required to perform that logic. So this is what happened later. Then the next, even if it is going to be distributed environment, they thought why we should have all the systems to be deployed in a single environment. Better to have it in a remote environment. So they started trying to access the services from the remote environment. Then finally the people thought about, okay, better through remote environment we could able to avail the services at any time anywhere. So this leads to imposes a ubiquitous environment for the users to access it. Later on the people think that the development itself to be in a distributed way. So we don't want to have the entire product to be distributed by the same team, whereas the team could be distributed across the world and they can implement each part of the product and finally it could be integrated. This is the next evolution happened in the software field. Finally, the people think even the development could also be happened in an easier way for which I don't need the entire infrastructure to be available in my place. Where I could make use of the infrastructure that could be existing anywhere in this world for the development of my product. So there, the introduction of the cloud came into picture. Likewise, the lot of evolution has happened in the software technologies which help to automate all these standard procedures in a better way. When I'm saying better way, I could say one more word to specify it is as a quality one. We could able to come out with a quality product by applying all these high-end software technologies. So when I am saying about the quality, you people may wonder what actually the quality means. The first and foremost quality of a product is that it should meet the need of the customer. So whatever the requirement stated by the customer should be met by that product. The next one, the customer or the user should feel easy to access the system. So the usability is the next one for which we need to provide the user interface in a format in which they can easily access it. So that is what that increases the user experience of availing the services from the product is highly required. So another thing, the correctness of the software and flexibility to change, make the changes in the software, etc., being considered as the quality of the software. So ultimately, we are able to develop the quality software by making use of the existing software technologies, which in turn may increase the data accuracy and the speed of the process. And we know very well that when all these tasks being done using the manual intervention, then we may face so many error in the data or error in the outcome of the software or error in the services offered by the software. So such things can be easily avoided by reducing the interventions of person in that process. So this is what happened currently. Now, as I said, since we have attained with high-end software technologies which could help us to automate the standard tasks, makes us to feel that we have been entered into some saturated level. But currently, because of that feel, the people thought, why can't we go for automating all other process where intelligence is required? For example, in day-to-day life, we could see a human in his lifetime has to take lot of decision. Even In his regular routine, he has to decide how to reach the institution or organization where he is working, how to make the travel plan, how to prepare himself to be presented on time in the organization. So, in order to make all these decisions, nowadays we find it very boring because it becomes a routine task. We feel that some tool, if it assists us, we feel better to take such decisions. Am I right? So, such a decisions what is required to be automated currently. So when if we are going for automating such decision making process, it is not possible just by relying on standard procedures. As I already said, the standard procedure is in approving the loan where we are simply making use of the rule specified by the Reserve Bank. So there is no customization. We are not bothering about earlier how the loan sanction has happened. Nothing. Simply we are following the rule stated by the Reserve Bank, and based on that the approval will be provided. But now currently it is not the case. As I said, the manager has to take the decision now based on so many factors. So whether the customer is an employee, is he a regular employee or non-regular employee, or he might be a entrepreneur. So many things, and also he may think about the assets, income and loan that he is possessing. So based on all these things, along with the rules in the place of understanding, guide him now to take the decision. So that's what I would like to state that here the data which we are going to handle is not a considerable amount of data. It could be a large volume of data. It could be different types of data. As I said, when I'm saying different, you may think why I'm saying here. So as I said, it could be a text data, or it could be an image data, it could be an video data, it could be a structured data, it could be an unstructured data, it could be a data generated by the machine. The sense how in approving the loan, we need not bother about the machine generated data. Whereas if you would like to predict the current weather, wait a minute. The techniques, etc., should be required to handle big data. Big data, in other words, will be represented with respect to 4 V's. One is the volume, that is high volume of data, variety, different types of data. As I stated that it could be structural, unstructured, text, image, streams, video, and machine generated data. So in the place of machine, extract the data from various sensors which are being attached with the machine in order to control the production. Similarly, the velocity implies that the frequency of generating the new data will be more. So in high an intelligent based solution, so that it could be better to handle such uh, process, because as I already said, it is not automation of the standard tasks. Here we are talking about the automation of the decision making where the intelligence is required. So whenever we are going to generate Finally, as I already said, we need the appropriate software techniques and tools which should be able to handle all these features. So where actually this decision making process being required, as already stated, in the context of handling the product process and project by the business managers, and also controlling the manufacturing and production process, and also in the place of providing the various services like educational, medicine and security. So we people are well aware, you are all in the educational environment, and we know very well here the information such as for each student we are maintaining the complete academic information, attendance and also administrative, in the sense the fees pay details. That's what I am mentioning it as an administrative information. So we need to maintain all this information. So our task is not limited to maintaining the information alone, but we need to conduct some analysis and providing the data so that the students can get benefit. For example, attendance, we should analyze that how much attendance a student is possessing in order to meet the basic. So in order to meet the university criteria, so such an analytics may be required currently for the students to take a decision to what extent they could able to attend the classes. So, so that's what now, as I said, data science is an emerging field since we need to provide all the techniques and tools that are required to handle the big data and also to conduct the intelligent based analytic process by making use of that big data. So my question here is, or I would like to say that most of the participants are, as I said, they are all doing their higher studies in various domain. It is essential that whatever be the domain you've been in, you need to focus your research on determining the techniques and methods, tools and platforms that are required to handle the big data. So that's what currently required. A lot of techniques are available, but are we able to apply all the techniques for all the problems? Cannot be. It is highly essential to determine the appropriate technique to handle the appropriate data. As I said, the data may vary. It may vary from structured, unstructured, text, image, video, streaming, and sensor data. So, to handle all these sort of data in an efficient way, the existing techniques may not be sufficient. So, it is essential to enhance those techniques in order to define and analyze those data to meet the need. That's what required. So this is what my question about the where the researchers should focus. I can say nowadays the vaccines for COVID-19 has been insisted or introduced by the government and insisted for all the people to avail it. So a lot of research is required in order to identify the impact of that vaccine on the various people. So here the analysis could be performed in various ways. One is to determine the people who have been affected by taking up the vaccine. that is analyze the impact of the vaccine on the people, those who have availed. Again, we can analyze the same thing in the stages. That is, in first stage, we can analyze the people, the impact of taking up this vaccine as a single dose. The next one as a those who have taken the vaccine for 2 doses. So what is the impact? So we could able to analyze, and that analysis is highly required for currently the people to take a decision whether to what extent we could rely on these vaccines. Okay, so such analytics being required, and here, as I said, this analytic solution should be completely automated, and as I said, there is no standard procedure here in order to say, yes, this is what the impact and this is what the inference that we have determined from the impact. So that we cannot say. So that means here we need to make the machine to learn about what actually being stated by the various people regarding the vaccination, and using those hypotheses we need to predict the impact. So this is what being required. Okay. Now my question for the participants: is data science an evolution of intelligent solution? Anybody who can answer this question? Currently, shall we say data science could be considered as an evolution of intelligent solution? Lead to an evolution of an intelligent solution? Is it right? I hope you are able to hear my voice. If it is so, kindly answer this question. Yes, one of you, please. Anybody here? I have seen.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you for your response. The next question. Okay, is the role of data science vital in Industry 4.0? Can you answer the question? The Industry 4.0 deals with automation of industry process. The people are now being a statistics department. The current need is to provide your support for this industry automation. Making entire process being an intelligent one. So based on the current state, the machine has to take a decision either to increase its speed or reduce its speed so that the quality of the product to be maintained. So all these aspects are coming under this Industry 4.0. So can you now say, is the data science play a vital role in Industry 4.0? Yes? Think answer for these questions. I hope we can have a break and later on shall we join? Are you able to hear my voice?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am?
Yes, shall we?
Yes,
meet?
ma'am. Take. Okay, ma'am.
Yeah,
How
yeah,
many?
yeah. I think we can back by 11 o'clock.
Okay, madam. Okay, madam.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Okay.
Now it's a break for 10 minutes and madam will be joining soon.
Hope we can start the session. Are you there?
Yes, ma'am, you can start.
Welcome back, ma'am.
Thank you. Hope you got the answer.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes. Hope you got the answer for these questions. Think about it and come. So the next topic that we are going to discuss is the activities that are involved in data science project process. Whatever the way you can take, I am saying data science process or data analysis process. In both the cases, these are the activities to be carried out. Then only we could able to come up with the appropriate solution that could able to meet the need of the users. So, whatever was the project that you are getting into, even if you are take up any research project, where initially you need to define a problem. And while you are defining the problem, it implies that you are having good understanding about the problem. Then only you are able to define it properly. That is, the objective and scope of the problem to be defined in a precise way only if you are able to have a clear idea about the problem. In the similar way, here also, if you take the problem associated with analytics aspect should also be analyzed and understand properly, which will help us to determine the data the features that are required to carry out the analysis process to meet the need. So that's why the first activity here we have mentioned is the problem understanding, that in turn will include the understanding of the business aspects involved in that problem. The next activity that needs to be performed is modeling the data that involves collection or extraction of the data, transform the data. As I already said, when you are collecting the data, we are supposed to collect the data from the different sources. So we may not have the format in which the data being available in the sources are compatible for the analysis project. So it is essential for us to transform those data into the format in which we could able to conduct the analysis. And finally, the data that have been collected and transformed to be checked for its consistency. So there we are invoking the process called the data preparation. And next, after the preparation, so we need to make use of the data for conducting the exploratory analysis to understand the data, how the data has been distributed, how the association among the data has been established. All these information could be derived through the exploratory data analysis. That in turn will help us to determine the features that are being required to conduct the analysis in a better way. That means we need to determine the features which will be able to improve the performance of the analysis process. And then the next one, by making use of those selected features, we could be able to conduct the analysis process by making use of the appropriate analytical techniques. So by conducting that analysis process, we are trying to generate the model which could be able to fit on the existing data. So finally, the result which has been generated at the end of the analysis of the data to be presented in a format in which the user can be able to understand and use it. So that's what we use to represent here as a data visualization. So first let us take the problem understanding. So here I have taken a problem statement as the prediction of the price of the used car. So for the entire discussion, we are going to make use of the scenario of prediction of the used car price. So by making use of the scenario, we are going to discuss the techniques that are required and the implementation of the techniques using the appropriate software called. As I would like to impose a point here, that is, my topic is the computational data science. So, with respect to the topic, I would like to make you to be very clear with the data science and also the rule of computing.
Madam, your voice is low, madam.
Oh, okay. Now is it okay?
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the information. So as I said that the entire discussion, we are going to take the problem as prediction of used car price, since that will help us to understand the various techniques and the usage of the software and generating the analytic solution. As I already said that by considering the problem statement, we could able to determine the answer for these questions. That is, who needs the analytic solution and what is its need and when that solution has to be provided. So for these questions, we can able to identify the answer by understanding the given problem statement. People also should know the problem statement is nothing but, in our software perspective, we used to represent that as a requirement stated by the user. Suppose here also, the decision makers could specify their requirements as their problem statement. So, problem statement in other words could be specified as the requirements stated by the users. So let us take this problem statement. So by understanding this problem statement, we can able to infer the following messages. That is, this is being stated by either the carriage manager or the car seller. The next one, or what is the purpose of having this price prediction process?
Madam, sorry to interrupt.
Yes, again it is feeble.
Background noise is there, madam, too much. I don't know.
Here there is no noise. Nobody is here.
Maybe some other participant mic is on or something.
It might be like that, but
Yeah.
I didn't hear any noise, and here in the entire space I am the only person sitting.
Okay.
So I think there is
So
no
is
noise.
open or something like that, madam?
Yes.
No.
Madam, right now I'll mute everyone. You just unmute and speak, madam.
Okay.
You can now unmute and speak, madam.
Yes. Now is it okay?
Okay, madam.
Now, yeah. Okay. But it is echoing. I don't know the reason behind it. Okay, fine. So the first activity in data science process is the problem understanding. As I already said, the problem can be represented as the requirement stated by the user. So first it is essential always to understand what has been stated by the user as his need. So based on that only we can able to determine the data that are being required in order to develop a solution for that problem or in order to realize the requirements in the automation product. So in that aspect, let us take a scenario of prediction of the used car price. So in which if you are going to consider this as a problem statement, then by understanding this problem statement, I could able to get answer for who requires this. That means this is again being considered as the requirement and who needs this service and why and at which context this service is required for that person. So for that, the answer is either the car seller or the carriage manager may required to know about the price of the used car. So he needs the service of knowing the predict price of the used car. And also when it is being required, since it is being required for him to improve his business. His business is what selling the used car. So for improving his business, it might be required. As I already said, if a proper prediction is there, which may make more customers to come and buy the car. If there is a flaw in the prediction of the price, then definitely the customers may think that this is not a feasible place for them to buy the car due to the unaffordability of the cost of the car. So that's what it happened here. So that's what the reason for predicting the price may be required to attract the customers, which in turn may improve his business. And when actually it is required, whenever he would like to fix the sales rate of the car, that time this service is required. So I am going to consider this as a service. Which one? This prediction of the price of the used car is a service to be required for the car seller in order to improve his business during the sales rate fixation of the car. How to determine these aspects? By conducting the formal or informal meeting. So in order to understand the problem, it is always essential for us to interact with the users or the clients in a formal or informal way, then only it is possible for us to know about the context of that state. So, another way I could say, by conducting the interviews, providing the questionnaires, conducting the review meeting, etc., may help us to understand the problem in a better way. Who is in need of understanding this problem? Data scientists. So don't forget it. So all these aspects are being discussed in the perspective of the data scientist. So once the data scientist has understand the problem, he could present it in a visual form so that everybody here, the users can easily understand what actually being stated by them. So for which he may be using the use case model or business case model to represent it. So finally, we are going to talk about the diagrammatic representation. As I already said, it's a visual representation which has more impact on the human being to understand the handwriting. The next is, by understanding the problem, which automatically help us to determine the features or data required to realize the requirements or to develop the solution for that problem. Or otherwise, if you are stating the solution as a process, then it is necessary for us to know about which are all the data required for performing that process. So in order for determining those features, this problem understanding will help us. So the resultant of the problem understanding may be specified as the set of features. So this is what the features that are being determined for the prediction of the used car price. The manufacturer of the car, fuel type, engine size, engine location, horsepower, city mileage and highways mileage. So these are all the features, or other words, attributes that are being identified be the requirement for conducting that analysis process. So here we have taken the scenario where this make the attribute name along with the description related with the data type is provided here. The make represents the manufacturer, which could be of categorical type. Fuel type could be again a categorical. Engine location, again categorical. Engine size, which is a continuous data. Horsepower, again it is a continuous data. City mileage is a continuous data. Highways mileage is a continuous data. Price is the one which need to be predicted, and here we have taken a data set which consists of the output or the label. So I can assume this data set as a supervisory data set. The next process is modeling the data. So once we understand the problem and determining the attributes that are required, then we could able to model the data by collecting those data from the various sources and represent them in a structure in which it is feasible for us to conduct the analysis. So in that aspect, we can consider here the first subtask involved in this data modeling is to collect or extract the data from the various sources. And here the sources could be the experimental data, database, data mart, and data warehouse. So the Many of you would have done the research by making use of the experimental data alone. As already said, the experimental data or the plain data which has been collected by conducting the various experiments repeatedly. For example, in order to conduct with the weather, for which we used to deploy the various sensors, temperature, humidity, pressure, and etc. So by making use of those sensors, we could able to collect the data and store it in a plain text. But that may not be sufficient currently. So the people think about the persistent storage, so they started making use of databases to store the data. So when we are making use of the database, automatically we with the support of maintaining the data in a consistent way. And similarly, if a large volume of data to be maintained, either it might be in a single database or it might be distributed across the various databases based on the dimensions and the attributes associated with the dimensions. So in that case, we may make use of some schema structure to collect and organize those data. So such a structure is what we use to mention as a data values. So from all these sources, we may able to collect the data. And as I already said, all this data may not be consistent for conducting the analysis or may not be compatible to conduct the analysis. So for which what we need to do, we need to determine the structure which is compatible for the analysis and make all these data to be transformed and converted into the consistent data structure form. The next aspect is, so if we are going to make use of the consistent data structure to represent the data or to organize the data, we may think that which are all the structures to be used. Already I mentioned that in mathematics so many algebraic structures are available. So we may make use of those algebraic structures in order to represent the data. For example, vectors, matrices, etc. could be used to represent the data. Similarly, when if I am going to prefer the tabular structure and also I would like to maintain the consistency among the data, then the better way to represent the relation. The relation is specifying the data to be represented in the table structure along with maintaining the relationship between the data by making use of data integrity method. This relational structure could be more appropriate for representing structured data. That is, in any information system, we need to maintain the data of those various entities. For example, in academic institutions, we may need to maintain information about the student, faculty members, and non-technical faculty members. So in all these cases, it is essential to represent them along with a specific attributes associated with them. If you consider the student, the attributes associated with the student are his or her register number, name, address, regular, so on. So in this case, it is easy for us to formulate the data along with their attributes. So for formulating such data, we prefer to make use of relational structure. Another thing is the tree and graph, which are widely being used in representing the social world. Whenever the relationship among the data are being identified as hierarchical, then we prefer to represent them using tree structure. As I already said, the data that are existing to describe our society, so we need to make use of either the tree structure or graph structure, because the association among the people and the society may be of hierarchical nature or may be of network nature. So both the things can be represented using tree and graph. So we may require to choose the appropriate structure to represent or organize the data based on the analytic process which we are going to find. For example, here we have taken the use of the price prediction. So here we have used the plain text format to represent the data. So this is an example. So we have taken the first difference. See how the data associated with each car is being represented. And along with the price is the output is also being given. So this is what sample data is. Another thing is, so our aim is how to make use of the software to automate this data science process. So here we have used Python as a software which provides all support for us to read, clean, explore, analyze, and present in the data. This is a simple example that we can read the data using Pandas, NumPy, which are the libraries in Python. So Pandas is the library that is being used to read, access the manipulate the data. NumPy consists of all scientific operations that we perform. So this is the simple statement which has been used to read the file. And here, when I stated that the entire data has been stored in the plain text format, and otherwise I prefer it has been stored with the comma separator value. Finally, while we model the data by extracting and transfer them, there is a mistake in representation of the data. Mistakes in the form of specifying a wrong data or specifying the data using the wrong data type, or some of the data we may miss to represent. So all these sort of issues may arise during the task of extraction and transformation. So now there is a need in order to maintain the integrity and consistency of the data, for which we need to determine the issues or errors existing in the data. So there may be some of the missing data which can be handled using the imputation techniques. And another thing, There may be the sum of the data which cannot process the value associated with the context. So such things we used to call some outliers, and by applying the normal distribution we could be able to determine those outliers and we can remove them. In this case, see here we are taking up the data set where we are having some of the missing values. So in city mileage there is some missing value, and also in engine size there is some missing value. Of course, price we will not bother about it because the price is to be predicted while we are considering this instance as a test data. So now these missing values to be handled through imputation technique. See how it has been handled. And how it has been implemented using Python. Let us see here. So wherever if you find the question mark which is being considered the missing value, then we can able to substitute with no number value there and specify that as true. That is, we can specify there is a missing value in that record associated with corresponding attribute of the corresponding record. So that's what here we are seeing here. So wherever the missing value is not existing, then the value will be false. Only in the place of missing value it will be specified as true. So only the missing value existing in the city mileage of the first record and in the engine size of the 7th record. So this is 0th record and the 7th record. So this is what being inferred from this. As I said, the missing values can be replaced with the mean. So that's what the average imputation techniques can be used for handling that missing value. So this is what happened. So by making use of the Python, we could able to replace the missing value with the mean value. So this is what the corresponding Python code that can be used to handle this missing value. Or otherwise, we can able to prepare the data by removing all inconsistencies by making use of these important techniques. But the outcome, like here, they converted all the value as a float value, and that's what we are seeing, the float value for all the continuous data being specified as a float data type in this data float. So that's because of the conversion of the data type from object done. And here the 25 is the average value which has been calculated by finding out the mean of all the city mileage and has been substituted. Similarly, here the engine size is also being considered the mean value. Hope you are able to understand the need of modeling the data. So after understanding the problem, understanding the requirements stated by the user, it is essential for us to collect and formulate the data in a compatible format. So that's what we discussed in the data model. So we are modeling the data, we are representing the data, which should be compatible for conducting the analysis. As I already said, if it is going to be a structured data and being collected from various databases, and I could combine all the data by making use of the star schema structure, so that I could able to perform all the analysis on it. For example, if you would like to predict the sales of the product based on the location of the customer and customer type, then I could organize all this data by making use of the star schema structure, where I am having the table structures, sales, customer type and location, so that I could connect sales with this customer type, location and product by making use of the foreign key concept, so which will help us to handle the process in an easier way on that model. And one more thing I would like to insist here is, whenever we are trying to define a process, we should look for the optimal performance of that process, for which it is always required to choose the appropriate structure to represent the data, because the performance of the process is highly based on the way in which the data be structured or modeled. So being a data scientist, you may be come out with the various analytic solutions, for which we need to specify the best model to represent the data, which in turn will improve the performance of it. Yes, so that's what your focus should be, to determine the best data structure to model the data, which will increase the performance with respect to storage and retrieval operation. So this is what to be focused. And the next one is, I would like to ask two questions. Please try to give the response for these questions. Which data model highly used to structure the data in management information system? As I already said, management information system is the one which is going to store all the entities involved in the system. For example, educational institution means all the entities such as students, faculty, course, etc. are being represented as entities, and all the information associated with those entities are to be maintained in a consistent and integrated way. So that is what the objective behind it. So in this case, let us say which model being highly appropriate. Any one of you? I think you are able to hear my voice. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am, all can hear you. Participants, please answer.
Please try it. The answer may not be the right one. Trying for providing the response is highly required. Anyone of you? Is the voice is not audible? Or I am not able to hear the voice?
Your voice is audible, madam.
Yeah, my voice is audible. I thought that somebody is trying to give the answer and him or her voice is not audible. Okay, thank you. So probably the relational model is the best model that could be used to maintain the information in a management system. And the next question, which data model is applicable to handle the social media data? Any idea? Are you giving the reply message? Because I am not able to view the message. So next, by making use of the graph model, we could able to represent the social media data in a better way. In some places, the tree model is also preferred. Thank you. The next task that is involved in the data science process is the explorative data analysis. So most of you are involved in this explorative data. Since I heard that participants from statistics are highly involved in this activity. So on a given data set, we would like to get insights of the data. That is, we would like to understand the data, for which we could apply the center of tendency techniques, center of dispersion techniques, and the correlation techniques in order to know about the association among the data and also to know about the nature of the data. Now, in other words, we can able to conduct the descriptive analytics in this phase. Most of the statistical people are highly involved in conducting this descriptive statistical analysis and an evaluate theory, so that will help us to decide the model that could be appropriate for handling the analytic process to conduct the required solution. In other words, I could even say the resultant of the explorative data analysis will provide the set of features that are being required to conduct the analysis. As I said, that conducting the factor analysis or principal component analysis, we could be able to determine the set of correlated features, or otherwise in statistics they used to mention the features as the variable or the predictor variables, which could be provide a better outcome for the given model. And otherwise, we could say the performance of the model will be improved by conducting the factor and input component analysis. So for that, as I have said, it may help us to determine the appropriate features that are required to conduct the analysis. So that it is highly required in the place of handling the high dimensional data. As I already said, while we are handling the high dimensional data set, the complexity will be more. So in order to reduce the complexity, it always required to reduce the features. And also, this will help us to increase the performance of the analysis process. As I already said, by conducting this analysis process, we could be able to reduce the generalization errors. It in turn will increase the performance of the model. Let us here see that they generated the correlation of other variables. Other variables are the data variables which have been associated with the output variable of the dependent variable. So the correlation between the independent variables and dependent variable has been carried out by making use of this formula. So in that aspect, they determined that some negative and positive correlation has been generated. And here we have determined that engine size and mileage, city mileage. So you know that when positive correlation is, so engine size being increased, that increases the price of the car. Similarly, if the mileage and the use instructs says that mileage or the usage of the car in city and highway has been increased, then automatically the price will also be reduced. So instead of saying it's a mileage, we could be able to represent this as the usage of the car in highways and the number of kilometers that the car being used in highways and being used in city. When that has been increased, then automatically the price will get reduced. So we may consider that engine size, highway and city usage, horsepower having highly correlated with the price. So only those 4 predictor variables could be considered for conducting the prediction of the price of the car. So the next task in the analysis process is data analytics of the generation of the data analytics of the model. Here a lot of things we can discuss. As I already said, we can make use of the statistical techniques whenever a standard procedures are being required to conduct the analysis process. For example, when you are trying to predict the price of the car using some formula that is already the parameters are being fixed, and based on the parameter value we are going to calculate the price of the car. And we assume that the parameter value is going to be static. And in this case, the price of the car has been generated for the given set of vector variables will be always fixed, so it won't be changed. So in that case, there is no need to make use of machine learning techniques. This is highly sufficient to automate the dramatic process by applying the appropriate data structure for defining the procedure, which in turn will reflect the process by making use of that fixed formula. That's what here it is being specified. So initially, you people are all used so many statistical tools, which reduces the time consumed for the calculation and also to manpower. So whenever the time is being reduced, we feel happy because we need not spend much time for performing all the calculations. So that is the way initially the automation is being done. And that is the way initially the many statistical tools will evolve. But currently the requirement has been changed. So we are not interested in working on fixed parameters. We would like to make changes in the parameters, which in turn will improve the performance of the model by reducing the error. So this is what our ultimate aim is. So for which the previous tools may not be applicable. The previous techniques that are being implemented in the tools may not be applicable. So we need to make use of a new technique for which the new set of tools to be assisted. So in that case, we are talking about machine learning. So I used to say the machine learning is a software which provides an intelligent analytical solution. How? By conducting training on data set that has been retrieved during the given experience and through which it tries to learn about the task. So that's why we used to call the machine learning as a computer program which learns from the experience with respect to the set of tasks, and also it improves the task, the performance of the task by improving the experience. So this is the statement given by Tom Mitchell. So it has defined the machine learning diffusion. So every problem being considered as a task, and for which the associated features are being extracted through experience. And the quality of the task is being mentioned as the performance measure. And we are improving the quality by performing the task on the improvised data set, or otherwise clean data set. Clean and feature engineered data set. So this is what we specified here. So in machine learning, we will follow the various approaches based on the type of data set we are using. Sometimes we will need to use a supervised data set on which we will make use of the following learning techniques. The first learning technique is the concept learning. It is really an interesting technique being used initially to do the classification of One more thing I would like to say, that is when I stated about
Madam, your audio is muted, madam.
now is it okay?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Thanks. As I already said that, so whenever if you are going to generate a model, it may be required to predict the qualitative or quantitative outcome. So qualitative in the sense, it has to generate categorical value as an output. Otherwise, I could consider this as a classification process. Whereas the quantitative, where we are going to generate the numerical value as an output, which I could consider as non-classification process. So for performing both the process, we are now going for machine learning techniques. It doesn't mean that we are not using the statistics. We are using the statistical techniques. Only the constraint is the automation of the statistical techniques is limited for small volume of data set or considerable volume of data set. So it cannot be used for handling the big data. So if the volume of the data has been increased, then simply automating the statistical learning techniques may not be sufficient. So that we need to apply the intelligent technique, or we need to make the machines to think and act. That means here the machine is considered a virtual machine. It has been represented as a software. So we need to provide a software which has to learn the task through the data. That's what I said. Learn the task through experience. Experience in turn is represented as a set of data. So it has to learn the task through experience. And also it should improve the performance of the task using the experience. So this is what being done here. So in that aspect, we need to make use of this machine learning techniques, which in other words comes as intelligent techniques. Otherwise, we are going to generate the software, intelligent software, which has to think what could be the solution for the given problem and try to impose that solution for further process. So this is what they expect. In that way, here we are talking about the concept learning. It's a very interesting technique where we are going to generate the rules or hypothesis by learning the concept which are being represented as a data. So such hypotheses are being used to conduct the prediction of the classification on new data. In other words, I could say we may have a set of training data on which we could able to learn the task and generate the hypothesis. And those hypotheses could be used for the prediction on new data set which has been derived from the population. So this is what. So that's what the concept learning, in other words, will be called as a learning from example. Otherwise, it could be called as an inductive learning. So if we generate the hypothesis and if we find that the hypothesis is able to predict the correct outcome as stated in the data set, then the hypothesis would able to predict the correct outcome for a new data set also, new data instance also, or new example also. So this is what being called as an inductive learning. So this is, I can say an example. Even the sales prediction if you take, I'm going to say generate the hypothesis assuming that we are having only the category data. So whenever if I am going to apply the concept of learning, we should assume that the given data set should be the categorical data set, then only it will be possible. So I can take another example like predicting the weather by considering the outlook, humidity, temperature, and so on. So all are being considered as the categorical data. So I could say if the temperature is normal, outlook is normal, is not, sorry, humidity is normal, then I could say the weather should also be normal. That means it is not too sunny or too cool. So this is what, neither too sunny, neither too cool. So this is what being considered here. So when I am able to generate such hypothesis, it seems that the hypothesis which I have generated is applicable to predict the correct weather for all the instances specified in that data set. For example, as I said, we have stated the hypothesis as if temperature is normal, outlook is normal, humidity is normal, then the weather is normal. So this hypothesis is applicable on all training data set. That is, when if I am going to make use of this hypothesis, in my training data set, it should always show the outcome as normal. So this is what. So such an inductive hypothesis, the learning is highly preferable for conducting the classification. Only thing constant is the data set should be on categorical type. So that is one of the things. So another, and it could be applicable only on the supervised data set, where we used to have the values of the outcome. We can even apply the decision tree, also the artificial neural representation tree again for the classification, and here also both in conceptual learning and decision tree we can see the bias could be made. You know very well the performance of the model can be evaluated by analyzing the bias and variance aspect of the outcome. So in that aspect, we could see that conceptual learning and decision tree provides a high bias. And low variance. Similarly, regression equator can be used for predicting the classification and also the non-classification outcome. Here we could see the bias could be less and variance could be more. Artificial neural network can be used where, for example, when we are saying the regression, the parameters could be fixed, but in order to make the parameters to be dynamic and could be adjusted in order to reduce the bias for which we normally apply the artificial neural network, or otherwise I may say that single perceptual model is more appropriate here. Also, we can make use of Bayesian learning methods, which could also be useful for the classification. Also, highly used on the supervised data set. Because we are statistic persons, we prefer to make use of the probabilistic learning models. Which being highly used in the healthcare environment. Or in the medicine field. Similarly, the unsupervised learning techniques, they can make use of the instant based learning techniques, such as scalar, that is more appropriate here. Another approach is a reinforcement learning, which is very interesting. Nowadays, in industry automation, we are all talking about the robot. Not only in industry, even in the restaurants, the people are saying that robots are used to serve the food. In order to design the robot, the highly applicable learning model is the reinforcement learning model. Because based on the current location, current position, we may determine the next state, which could be optimal. And for determining the optimal state, we are making use of the rewards that are being associated with each state. So such a nice technique, reinforcement approach, under which you are making use of skill learning. So this is how regression evidence is being conducted using the Python software. So in Python, SQL is the package which consists of all the algorithms. So from the package we can able to avail any algorithm, whether the linear regression method or logistic regression method. So here we are using the linear regression, and we are trying to train the model for which we have chosen the sum of the data set as a trained data set. Here we are considering 90% of the given data set as a trained data set on which we have conducted this linear regression. And we have obtained the model which is able to generate the R-square value as quantity. So what is this R-square value? It is one of the methods that has been used to evaluate the performance of the model. So what actually it implies? It implies the ratio between the residual sum of the square, the total sum of the square. Total sum of the square is nothing but the sum of the residual sum of the square, or they may be called the regression sum of the square, and the error sum of the square. We know the regression sum of the square, which states the difference between the estimated value and the actual value. The actual value is the one which is being specified in the data set. Error sum of the square, which is going to predict the difference between, specify the difference between the actual value and the value which has been stated in the sum. That means the prediction sum of the values could be stated as an outcome. That's the difference. So not actually the estimated value, but from the experience we may determine the sum of the outcome. So difference between the outcome and the actual value is what we calculate the error value. So here normally we need to calculate the R-square value is 1 minus regression of the residual sum of the square divided by the error sum of the square. So by making use of which we are, so it is called the ratio. So the ratio of the errors. So if the ratio of the error being subtracted from 1 actually states that the highest value of the R-square. It implies that there is no difference between the actual or the ratio of the residual sum of the square and error sum of the square is zero. So in that case, we used to say the R-square value is high, then we can accept that model. So here I have not taken it in depth, but let us take the overall analysis of what has been done. Here the change in the number of instances used for the training and testing. So while changing the ratio, automatically the R-square value is also being changed. So can we consider this is what our this slide shows for the research scholars where they have to focus their research area. So it is essential for us to determine the appropriate model for tentative analysis of the problem. So simply any model if you apply cannot be appropriate. As I said, for conceptual learning, when it is good to make use of the candidate elimination techniques or Bayesian tree, we should state that only if there are some categorical values it is possible to apply it, otherwise it may not be possible. So that such a analysis to be conducted not to determine the appropriate amount. It's a simple idea. Similarly, existing techniques may not be sufficient to do the classification or to generate the patterns, to predict the values and so on. So that means that we need to do some refinement on the existing model so that it could be used for generating the required solution. So we can so scholars can determine those areas and can conduct the research. So this is what being derived from the discussion that we had so far on conduct the research. So this is not a simple question. I think it's something that we are aware of it. Being derived from the discussion that we had so far on conduct the research. So this is not a simple question. I think it's something that we are aware of it. Being derived from the discussion that we had so far on conduct the research. So this is not a simple question. I think it's something that we are aware of it. Being derived from the discussion that we had so far on conduct the research. So this is not a simple question. I think it's something that we are aware of it. Being derived from the discussion that we had so far on conduct the research. So this is not a simple question. I think it's something that we are aware of it. Being derived from the discussion that we had so far on conduct the research. So this is not a simple question. I think it's something that we are aware of it. Being derived from the discussion that we had so far on conduct the research. So this is not a simple question. I think it's something that we are aware of it. Being derived from the discussion that we had so far on conduct the research. So this is not a simple question. I think it's something that we are aware of it. Being derived from the discussion that we had so far on conduct the research. So this is not a simple question. I think it's something that we are aware of it. Being derived from the discussion that we had so far on conduct the research. So this is not a simple question. I think it's something that we are aware of it. Being derived from the discussion that we had so far on conduct the research. So this is not a simple question. I think it's something that we are aware of it. Being derived from the discussion that we had so far on conduct the research. Maybe starting wrapping up the some of the figures may help us to reduce the generalization. So there is a difference between the generalization and the error and the training error. As I already said, the training error will be determined if there is any flaw in the outcome which has been generated on the training data. Generalization error is the one where bias is existing in the test data set. Bias is the outcome generated on a test data set is not to do with the actual expected outcome. The next task in the data science process is visualization. As I already said, we can attract more customers, or we can make the customers convenient for accessing our solution only if we are able to provide a better interface for them to access. Am I right? For example, for the car seller or car carriage manager, if you are going to give the prediction of the car price, it should be specified in the format in which he is able to understand it. Because we cannot expect him or her as a statistician or a mathematician or a software engineer. So that means for such non-professional people, we need to present it in a manner that they find it easy to understand. So that's what really required. That's what I said initially. And if we are going to provide the software solution, we should ensure that we are able to provide the best user interface. A lot of things has to be done for providing the best user interface. It is not simply designing the forms by mentioning all the menus and button components in it. Rather than, first we should know what sort of knowledge the customer is having on interpreting the data. So in which format if you are giving the result so that the manager can able to do the interpretation in which way. So first we need to understand all these aspects by communicating with the user, and after that only we have to design that interface. So in that aspect, we could say that the better representation of the data is highly required. Or the best dashboard design is highly required for the user to interact with the product and also understand the outcome of the process being requested by him. That's what he had mentioned, to improve the user experience, to increase the data understanding, to improve the correctness of data interpretation, and to increase the precision of decision. As I already said, the manager fails to understand the data in the right way, then he may go for taking the wrong decision. So that has to be avoided, and also should increase the efficacy of success. That is, we need to provide the dashboard which should be displayed in the mobile so that the user can access it anywhere at any time. So this is what being required. The simple visual representation how it has been provided by Python. So I'm just making use of the Python and doing right. So simply we are making use of the plot library and making use of it. Here we have presented the visualization model which shows the correlation between the data. So this is the data generated after conducting the linear regression. So finally, I would like to say some words on how to handle this data science process or data analytics project in a better way, for which it is always essential to make use of software engineering concepts, or better to practice software engineering principles in the data science project, which will enable us to develop a quality analytical solution. So this is what being achieved through the automation of the analytical solution by practicing the software engineering principles. Nowadays, we cannot separate the software technology from data science, because the data science is made available to everyone only through the software. So if you see the industries which are developing this analytic solution, they almost be an IT industries. So they will be having a separate wing where this analytic project is being carried out. So in such situation, it is essential for the data scientists to know about software engineering so that it will help them to handle the project in a better way, or to develop a solution which could be able to fulfill the need of the user. So first I would like to tell about the software engineering. For non-computer science students, you should know that in all IT industries, wherever they are developing the software, they used to follow a set of activities for the development of the product. So we are going to streamline those activities so that we could specify the way in which the activities to be carried out, how the activities to be carried out, who has to conduct the activities, when the activities to be done, and so on. So ultimately, by conducting all the activities, by applying the rules as we stated, will help us to come out with the quality. So that's why we used to say the software engineering is an application of systematic, quantifiable and disciplined approach for development and maintenance of the quality. So this is the definition stated in the TP. In other words, I could say the software engineering prescribes the process for developing the software, which says about the set of activities that are to be carried out and in which order the activities to be carried out, using which technique, that using which approach or method or methodology those activities to be carried out, and whom in the development team should be responsible for carrying out those activities, and which software or the tool that is to be used for implementing the data. This is what actually consists a software engineer. And practicing the software engineering process having a high influence on the data science computation. As I already said, in data science process, we are performing the activities such as understanding the problem, modeling the data, exploring the data, predicting the data, and presenting the data. So all these activities being merged with the software engineering process as problem understanding, requirements understanding, analysis of the requirements, design the software model which could be able to realize the requirements, implement the model, the software model, and test and maintain them. The same sort of thing is stated here. Understanding the requirements, analyze the requirements, coming out with the data, features that are being required as a resultant of the analysis of the problem. And based on the requirements, we are going to model the process by determining the data. Initially, we are modeling the data, then we are modeling the process. The process here is considered as an analytic process. So, we can highly interpret the data science process in the view of software engineering activities. And here, as I already said, the software engineering describes a process model which states the way in which the activities to be carried out. So there are two ways the activities to be carried out. One is an iterative way or sequential. Sequential way in the sense, in the data science process, whatever the activities which we have quoted to be handled one after another. It's an iterative. The set of activities will be repeated again and again until you are going to get the correct outcome. And another, in iterative model, the specialization of an iterative model is what agile model. That means that agile model is highly suitable for this data analytic project because they do not wait for a long time for getting the solution for their problem. For example, the prediction of the sales curve, the prediction of the price of the user required, for which they may give 1 week time for us to conduct the analysis and provide the solution. So that means we need to do the development as fast as possible. So there the agility comes into picture. That means when we are going to conduct the activities in an iterative way, it may take more time. So we want to reduce the time and make the process faster, for which we can make use of this agile. So agile is a value system where we used to consider these values such as individuals and interactions among the process and whole, and we are highly concentrating on releasing the working software after each iteration rather than coming out with the comprehensive documentation. And similarly, we would like to have the customer as a part of the development team so that he could able to provide the feedback then and then rather than making use of the contract negotiation as a statement in order to determine the correctness of the records. And similarly, at the end of each iteration, whatever the work product being released will be used by the user, and they will come up with a suggestion, and the suggestion could be incorporated in the next iteration. So that's what responding to the change. So the suggestions could be some changes on the existing features. So such changes could be incorporated in the next iteration. Likewise, we should try to do the iterations and consider each iteration should do of a short span of time so that it will be completed within the short period, so that it is easy for us to release the product as fast as possible. So for data science, when we are going to apply the agile, so the values or the principles, the values that are being involved in agile data science is we have to consider the requirements as subsets so that we can conduct the analysis in an iterative way, or we can conduct the data science process on the selected subset of the requirements and release the outcome, then find out what sort of issues there in the existing solution, then those can be rectified in the next iteration. So conduct the iterations over and over and rethink the business process. So simply don't consider the prediction of the old car price is only based on those features. So such prediction only can attract more customers. So such business factors can be eliminated. Considering more other features may also contribute to get the correct car price based on the current expectation of the customers. So likewise, and similarly, we need to conduct more experiments so that we may get a lot of data. As I said, and if you are going to determine the weather by making use of the various temperatures and humidity sensors, get more number of data. Each day, by making use of the sensors, get more data and connect the prediction. So conducting the experiment should be encouraged, and we should listen to what the data says. So what the sensor data says should be considered, and understanding and encouraging the business to improve the data specification and find the path to solve the problem. As I already said, we have to determine the model to solve the problem and formulate the team and make use of the team to solve the problem using the model which has been specified in the previous step. So this is what all about the usage of software engineering, that too the agile process model, how it influences the development of data science project. And for any queries, you can contact me And you can ask any doubt if you want, you have, you can ask me. Is it audible? Are you able to hear my voice?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Feel free to
Anything
discuss
else?
with ma'am.
Yeah. Yes.
Which software currently advanced, ma'am?
Said that
Ma'am?
currently from the scratch,
Yes.
if you would like to do the data science project, better to make use of Python. Python is a software which consists of all the libraries which are required for conducting all sort of analysis. That too, Alteryx is a tool, Python tool, which consists of the packages which are required for conducting all sort of things: data collection, data exploration, data modeling, analytics, visualization. So for all these aspects that Alteryx tool consists of. So better to make use of this tool.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anybody?
Participation is discussed with ma'am for your convenient.
Yes. So, thank you once again for giving this opportunity by the organizing team. And for any queries, you can contact me at any time. You can make use of my mail ID, suganthi@cat.edu.in, suganthi@cat.edu.in, which is the official mail ID. You can send all your queries and feel free to have the discussion. Thank you.
Madam, please, you can post your mail ID in the comment box, madam.
Yes, I will do it.
ஆமாம் ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, come with front of camera, ma'am.
Yes, I will do it. Is it okay?
Ma'am, not visible.
Madam, first you should stop the presentation, madam. Then only your camera will be visible.
Ma'am, can you stop your presentation, ma'am? Then immediately come with the video. சரி வெயிட் பண்ணலாம் மேம் வருவோம்.
Yes.
Ma'am, video right now?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, no more questions. Doubt for your wind-up of sessions. Any queries depends upon students, research scholar, and scientist. Depends on faculty and also faculties.
So you can free to ask the questions.
Yes, ma'am is waiting. So ma'am is working in a technical university, so that is a different perspective of institutions. It's very oldest institution and very famous of institution, CATs. Yeah, ask ma'am. I think
Yeah, yeah.
TJ one person
Yeah,
starting
yeah.
Jane.
I want to know how can we use this machine learning or deep learning in nature-inspired optimization output?
Sorry,
Ma'am,
audio
for
is
your voice is not clear, ma'am. So interruption and many.
your audio is also not clear.
Mm.
A person who has asked the question, her audio is not clear. Shall I turn the camera off
Okay, ma'am. No problem.
so
For your
that I could able to hear the audio clearly? Okay, tell me. Or you so you
Am I audible?
yeah, lot of disturbances are there. Able to hear, better to type the question in the chat box so that it will be convenient for me to answer.
participants.
Somebody asked the question. I didn't receive any question in the chat box.
Yes, I think Tarang Jain is come.
Your voice is very clear, sir, but I don't
Yes,
hear
ma'am.
the
Yes, ma'am. That
voice.
there may be is any instrumental issues may be there, ma'am. The participation side, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. One ma'am is Dhanalakshmi is come.
Maributta, I hope they has raised his hand.
Yeah, ma'am is I think participate Marmati participants.
Raised his
Otherwise,
hand.
post to a chat box for your questions. Post to a chat box. Any
Post in your
difficulties
chat
is there?
box.
Chat box is very useful in case
Yeah.
any technical instrument issues. No problem. Technical or URL issues. Any?
Oh, they could not able to access the chat box. So no longer has access
Yes,
to.
ma'am. Yeah.
Because of their joined as the guest, they may not able to access the chat.
Yeah, that is, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Then ask the question if it is audible, I could able to answer.
Okay, no, audible or chat box for your convenience, ma'am. Participation side.
So if you find you could not able to
Yes, ma'am.
your questions to the chat box, kindly ask.
So no more questions.
The thing is, they are not able to access the chat. That's why. So you feel free to mail me so that I could able to answer those questions. As I already said, I have taken only in the perspective of providing the automatic analytic solution. So the role of software is highly involved in it. So anybody who is into the research area, and finally I hope you need to provide the solution only in the form of software. So in that aspect you could free to have the discussion with me. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful lectures based on the data science and such as students of mathematical background, statistical background, is UG and PG levels very hope of for your rich of knowledge of presenting the sessions. Once again, thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Today the facilitators, Dr. S. Sugandhi, ma'am. professor from CIT. Is one of the leading of institution and autonomous body of institutions. Is also a technical institution. It's very important of institutions. Once again, thank you. Today, the thanks to all the participants for making of this short-term training program on data science and statistical applications. Is grand success of one today. This program is jointly organizing myself, Dr. Gandhiya Vendhan, Organizing Secretary, Department of Statistics, Bharathiar University, Coimbatore, and so also the joining of associate with PG and Research Department of Mathematics, Jamal College, Tiruchirappalli. The college is the one of the most of leading of star cadre. Thank you for participation. So already post the feedback today. Kindly fill the participants. Thank you very much, ma'am.
So thank you for both the organizing committee and the participants for their patient listening of our lecture. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Already posted. Wait. Now I posted. Check it. So okay, tomorrow is the